What's up, Pocket Dudes? Welcome to Pokemon Go to the movies, where we go back in time to the first movie yet again. I'm your host, Dan Video Games, and with me is Bob.
Deja vu.
Dr. Aggro.
Running in the 90s.
Chris Wolfhard.
Why?
And Millennium Mike's very own Shiba Yagato.
Now I have a crazy idea. Mewtwo.
Two?
Never been done before. Absolutely unique.
What about this? I got a great idea. It's called Pikachu 2. We're on Pikachu 17!
I feel like we need a Pikachu's vacation at this point.
More of a Pikachu hiatus. Pikachu moratorium? Anyways, this is the episode where we go back to the past to show you the horrible CG remakes that suck ass.
Good. I was hoping that's where you were going.
God.
It is never been so bad.
Why did they do this?
Now, for anyone who's never watched Pokemon Go to the movies before, this is our Pokemon movie review podcast here over at the GigaBoots Podcast Network, and we are actually here on the second to last episode, and this is a weird one. It's more of a patch notes episode to the first one you apply to make it a completely different review of a stunningly identical and yet completely experientially different movie. Because that's right, we're watching the CG remake of Mewtwo Strikes Back - Evolution this time, or as it's known in Japan, Mewtwo's Counterattack Evolution.
Oh my God.
Which I believe officially they say, no, it's Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, but the raw translation might actually be the exact same as Shar's Counterattack.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I just think
Yeah, there's no counterattack here.
Mew could have been like a mother to me.
Ash screams, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, Ash burning up in orbit. What? Anyway, we're here to talk about it again, but recapping the same movie twice in one podcast review series is like a lot to ask from us, so we're just going to do a really different format this time. It's going to be more of a conversational thing with the few segments we want to revisit at the end. Please, if you want to see a normal episode of Pokemon Go to the movies, watch any other episode. And if you want this to be like, you know what movie we're talking about, just go listen to the first episode or watch the real version of the first movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I looked it up. This has the same screenplay writer as the first movie.
Yes, and apparently that was credited post-mortem, I believe.
Yes, he died 9 years before this movie.
Yep.
9 years. Literally nothing has changed.
Yeah, there's not a single... this is the exact same movie.
No, this is a worse version of the first movie. It adds a lot of unnecessary shit.
I think there's like one or two very small scenes that are new.
So there's specific lines that I wonder if it's a translation thing, and also a couple scenes that are new in that way. It's really weird.
They definitely did a new dub script.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, she's really small but really pretty.
Yes.
Rest in peace!
I actually was watching this along with the original version with the subtitles on, so I saw the more direct translation, and a lot of it is like a way closer to the direct translation instead of the adaptation done by 4Kids.
Because, different eras. But, that Brock line of, she's really small but really pretty is like important in GigaBoots. That is a load-bearing soundbite in GigaBoots history.
I feel like there's a lot of really important segments that were actually added by the US dub team.
Oh, good! Chris and I have screen capped the same frame!
Oh my God!
Frame!
That's when I decided new Brock needed to die. Like, just deeply unsettling to see him stretch and move that way.
Sucks.
I also have this shot from where Mewtwo throws the guy, and I just thought it's all those memes where it's like, I cast testicular torsion.
Correct, but he's also asking if you have games on your phone because it's, 2018 now?
Right? Different context.
He wants to play Pokemon Go?
A different time. Yeah, this movie's that's a really good. Anyways,
Yes.
while he's in the chamber though, Mewtwo has visions of following Mew through the lake and leading up to a mountain, and he's like, "Where am I? Who are you? What is that? What were they thinking?" And I feel like that's slightly different from how it was in the original. Not meaningfully so, but
Yeah, it's real similar. But it's. I thought that this would be like a more complete script, maybe like what we saw added later in the US version was the like kids and stuff and the clone Pokemon that were young. None of that's in this.
yeah.
No, it's the same thing again.
Yeah, even the original Japanese cuts that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought this would be like, hey, we took this plot to this original movie and tried to refine the dialogue and add a couple of elements, maybe a new character or something. But no, weirdly enough, it is just very straightforward. Here's this very, we visited it at the beginning of this, and we got the US dub or Japanese dub, depending on who watched what. We watched with subtitles with the US dub on, and Bob and I did. If I remember correctly. Anyway, watching it for the first time at the beginning of this podcast series had a lot of context because that's when we were. This came out in the States in 2020 on Netflix.
Yeah, it has Netflix original at the beginning of this.
It sure does.
Yep.
They've got to stop doing that.
Giving us things to review? Yes! I want to see what is the average GigaBoots podcast network review score for anything brought over by Netflix or co-funded by Netflix, because I imagine it's somewhere around 3 out of 10.
Let's see. Most of this list just says not One Piece. That's weird.
Right? One Piece is just Atlas trying to hold up the average score.
Like we have 2 scores, One Piece and not One Piece.
What I do like is Mewtwo's battle armor is different in this version. It's got more rib cage-like energy to it.
Yeah, that gave me some hope that other things would change.
Same. And that was in the first 8 minutes.
I think it's very interesting that if you cut this up into maybe the first 12 minutes, release that on its own as a sort of like mini promotional thing saying, hey, there's Pokemon movies on Netflix now, then I'm fine with its existence, and it's fun because the only human characters we see don't look like complete pieces of shit.
Yeah, speaking of which, I finally got to my note about I still can't believe Chris and I literally clipped the same frame. 2 different locations. We're like, this is when it hit rock bottom. My note is, he looks like a monster from Beetlejuice.
Oh,
It kind of does.
Yeah.
Like, it's genuinely stunning how bad the main characters look.
Yeah.
The other characters look kind of better. One thing I did think was one thing they did change that I think is funny is that they took a lot of the side characters from the original movie and just gave them melanin.
Oh, interesting.
Like the trainer that Ash battles in the opening, they made him darker and gave him
Yeah,
dreadlocks,
and-
which he did not have.
Yeah, he had a 3rd-gen vibe to him, that was cool.
And the Harbor Master, they made her skin darker and like changed her design a lot.
Yeah.
Not her accent in the dub.
Yeah, I actually that stood out to me a lot. That is just the same actress. That's Lisa
It is.
Ortiz. She's back.
This
She's
many
voicing
years
her.
later.
They have some of the 4Kids actors back for this, but not all of them, which is really jarring.
Yeah, they basically only have side characters like that. So she plays both Nisha and Marina. So the main female trainer who goes to the island and that harbor master.
And since it's Lisa Ortiz, my brain just goes, am I playing a PS2 launch title? There's just that's fair. I'm looking at Uncanny Valley CGI. I'm hearing Lisa Ortiz. It just feels like it is the odds.
She's doing some bizarre accent that doesn't seem accurate at all. It's like, yes, we're here.
Couldn't believe she was still doing that.
Right?
It's worth noting that Lisa Ortiz was the voice director for Pokemon from like movie 18, like from the time that came out. So it would make sense she would keep popping up.
She's like, I cast myself again.
Works
Thanks,
for Richard
Chris
Epcar. And Chris Sabat. Man, Chris Sabat really popularized. He's like, I'm 70% of this fucking show.
I can't even be upset at him though.
Right?
But here's like Miranda comparisons.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There is a redesign going on there. With the Sabbath thing, you ever think he's like, we should just do a dub joke, just not even put it on the air, but it should be the joke from Family Guy when Peter's father-in-law meets his doctor. Now that you mention it, we do sound exactly the same. Anyway, yeah, there's like not a whole lot to talk about here other than there's a moment after Clone Charizard comes out of the chamber when he walks away that my brain went, like my brain just like shuddered for a moment and went, you don't know it, but you are watching the Donkey Kong Country cartoon.
Oh,
there is a lot of energy of that to a lot of scenes. Because this thing, instead of having actual good direction like the original does,
it's shot in the wide.
Yeah, a lot of it's shot in the wide, like the Donkey Kong cartoon. It's like
we're having a heartwarming moment with Brock, and we're seeing it from the fucking football stands.
And other times they're like, "Look, it's 3D, so we can pan the camera slowly and move it through the environment." It's like that looks terrible.
Yeah, I would honestly, I'm going to say it now before someone says it in the comments, cinematography better in the Donkey Kong Country cartoon. Which is unreal. That sounds like bullshit, but I swear I am being earnest with that.
Oh yeah, one other thing they added more trainers leaving the port using Pokemon.
Which implies
they all died on the way.
That guy in the Scyther is dead.
Yeah, that guy in the Scyther is really
what a
dead.
dumbass.
Right?
I did like the line, which I do not believe was exactly this in the original, where they're all leaving and Officer Ginny runs up and says, "Stop or I'll have to arrest you." It's like, they're gone already.
Go get him. Pull out your fucking Growlithe and go get him.
Yeah, doggy
yeah. What's
paddle out there.
Arcanine gonna do? Swim?
No matter how cool the Lapras boat was and how cute the routine Team Rocket was doing was, I will never forgive them for killing the Viking joke.
I know.
That is fair.
That's all I could think about.
Man, if Pokemon was real, just like that image of these two adults like wanting to take children out into the ocean in a storm in a paddle boat would be like the moment legislation was passed. It's like, Pokemon, you must now be 16 to go on your Pokemon journey and must check in regularly with all adults and wear this bracelet so everybody knows where you are at all times.
God. Every Pokedex now has a GPS.
I actually thought that Jesse and James looked better than most characters in this, which was weird.
I don't know. They often, I just mash the fucking screen cap button anytime I see a horrifying face, and they honestly have the most Tim Burton Presents Pokemon the movie shit going on.
I think Jessie translates as a design much better to this weird 3D uncanny style than James does. Because with Jessie, she has like defining features in her face, and her hair is more distinct than just, it's kind of long. It's like a couple inches above shoulder length.
Yeah, speaking of which, having defined like hairstyle like that makes her avoid the look that so many things in this movie have of tech demo. Like,
yeah,
the way
especially Misty, who looks like a cursed doll.
Yeah.
Ash's hair is very, you're playing a Square Enix RPG on the PS4 and we have to show off the engine.
It looks like a cutscene from a PS1 horror game.
It's like they put too many they didn't know how to model the face, so they just put a bunch of polygons in there.
Yeah.
And that was it. They were just like, keep adding, and it's like, that didn't work.
One of the things I wrote down is that this movie made me feel like it was the hyper realistic quote Zelda E3 tech demo of Pokemon movies. I'm being sold on a console I don't even know exists.
Yep.
They're like, this is what graphics will look like in the future, and I'm like, okay, do we still have art then?
I thought it was funny how much more H.R. Giger-like the hallways in Mewtwo's Citadel looked in this movie. Because the lighting was all different. It looked like it had some sheen, which was probably just coincidence, and how bad 3D looks.
Yeah, they also added a lot of audio elements that weren't there before, to the point where they're stepping on the metal grate out on the dock of the tower that Mewtwo's in. And I was like, is someone bumping Mike? Why do I hear Mike bumping sounds? Oh, that's them walking on the metal grate. Okay, that's...
Gotta say, I was able to empathize with Mewtwo a lot more in this translation because he sounded less like a weird teenager shouting on his live journal, and more the moment he woke up, he goes, "Oh man, existing is horse shit. Who is responsible for this?"
Yeah. It helps that it's Dan Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the few saving graces of this fucking film is that they got Dan Green back to play Mewtwo, because I can't hate that man's performance when he's like giving me some of the most effort I'm seeing out of the entire film when it comes to anything visually or audio wise.
You want to talk about the most effort visually, though? Let's talk about these hyper-realistic fire rapidashes.
That fire's
This is
so
true.
weird. Another it's a tech demo.
It's another tech demo.
Every time the
Yeah,
flash
every
from
one of
that
these
water,
screenshots
too.
is just a tech demo. Like it looks so bad.
Honestly, I could never see the Rapidash fire because every time Wigglytuff's mouth was on screen, that's all I was looking at. I think Wigglytuff looks the best in this CG.
I was pretty harsh on how fucking monstrous things looked in the last movie.
Uh-huh.
I feel like there's a spectrum where we can put like Detective Pikachu on one side and this movie on the other, and we should shoot for somewhere in the middle.
You know what it is? I'm looking at the screenshot of the Wigglytuff that you've posted, and I'm trying to discern why I'm getting bad vibes from these Wigglytuff. And I think I've discovered that the answer...
They look like they're from a cutscene of Pokemon Coliseum.
No, because that would be more charming. They look like they're from an Illumination movie.
I was going to say that. I was like, it's a Minions thing, isn't it?
Yeah, literally, yes.
I feel Illumination movies look a lot better than that.
This is like half-baked Minions.
Yeah.
Their color turns yellow when you finish baking them. In between, it's pink.
The thing about this movie, and that a lot of Japanese CG movies that are trying to look Western, which this obviously is, and Lupin the First was another example. They really give like American CG TV show energy.
They do, yeah.
Like they give Jimmy Neutron energy real bad.
Yes, yeah. Mhm.
Like
They
the
lack
being
the
shot in the
charm.
wide, everything looking kind of bad. All the animation, like the movement being just like one notch below par.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, that sure is a run cycle. That's what we're going with. All right.
And I feel like the biggest moment of this is when the Pokemon are all killing each other.
Oh god.
And it starts to show it in slow motion.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
like the Venusaur head slam each other, and then like it goes into like the world's most limpest animation of them falling down.
Yeah.
Like all of them are like that.
Even if the animation is conceptually fine, right? They do some shit like Ash falls down, like he's tumbling and falls down into the stadium, right? And they just shoot it from the wide, so it's funny. Like, it's not, oh, look, Ash took a really bad fall there and he's hurt and he's struggling to get to them to make them stop fighting. It's, no, that child fell over and that's kind of funny.
When I looked up the people who did the CG for this, it kind of was illuminating of like, oh, this is the people who do background CG in anime.
Yeah.
Like, these are not people who make CG movies.
Right.
They do like all the CG for Pokemon movies, and they do
right. So
other
they're
stuff
responsible
like that.
for GameCube fidelity,
Right.
like Suicune and shit.
Yeah, it's cel-shaded Suicune.
Oh god, every time you have one of those wide shots with a shitty CG crowd.
Real quick, gotta loop back around to this. So my favorite shot in the movie might just be when the Rapidashes are flying away. And they're just running animation as they drift upward into space. And all I could think of is that Johnny Young Bosch movie we watched with the production logo of the
with the
horse on
burning
fire
horse?
running.
Yeah, Hellbinders.
Hellbinders.
No clip activated.
I think all the Pokemon look better than the humans, at least. That's something.
Yeah, I don't think there's one Pokemon that looks worse. I
That
even
bar's on the floor, but yes.
Yeah, I have set this at 2 inches off the ground.
I mean, here's the shot, reverse shot. You ready? Yeah. Pikachu looks a little bit better than Ash.
Yeah.
God. Ash in that shot looks like he's gonna eat Pikachu.
Oh.
What is the point of that Pokemon hitting each other scene without Brother My Brother playing?
I don't know.
Well, Brother My
right.
Brother was a 4Kids invention.
I know.
I just that entire scene upsets me when I think about it, because like if you're gonna just have dramatic orchestral music swelling, you at least need to make it a little more visceral. Show me the Pokemon, like, feeling the impact of a slap or a headbutt or something. Instead, it's just a kid pressing two action figures against each other and making some noises. And it has about as much emotional weight to it as that. Except I'd be more invested in what the kid's doing, because at least the kid has put anything interesting into it with his fucking boom, psh, pow, yeah.
Right.
This has nothing.
You're thrilled about the kid having a fun time. I ain't thrilled about shit when it comes to this movie.
Look, Shibuya, they got all these things modeled, all right, and they have neither the time, the talent, nor the rendering engine to start deforming these objects in collision.
What do you mean they don't have the time? This was a Netflix release. They could have cooked it more. It's not like this went to theaters.
I think this has been in the microwave long enough.
I mean, in Japan it did, didn't it?
Yeah, in Japan this went to theaters, which should have caused riots, frankly.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's one of those quote unquote million quotation marks Netflix originals where they just licensed it after somebody else made it.
That sucks.
Yeah, they've got to stop being able to do that. That's horseshit.
I think Dungeon Meshi also has the Netflix original shit in front of it. It's like, you don't, motherfuckers, you didn't make that.
At least with that, they obviously funded it from the beginning more, because they do that whisk trigger specifically a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas this, no.
Whereas this was like, I heard you got a turd on your hands. Who are you? I'm Netflix's turd manager.
I think that perhaps Pokemon is ill-suited to CG movies because you need lots of different shit, which is the antithesis of the point of a CG movie.
Yeah.
Like, when you need 80 different characters, CG is perhaps not the way to go.
Can we talk about the fact that those trainers still had nicknames for their Pokemon, and that's nice?
Yeah, that's still nice.
Yeah.
That didn't happen again in any of the movies.
No.
Not once, I don't think. Maybe once.
This is what happened. It's a thing that happens when your audience is 7-year-olds and you don't want them to get confused.
Yeah, I struggled when I was going back through this to figure out who this movie is for, and I've settled on two answers. This is the movie for people who were kids when Gen 1 came out, grew up, now have children of their own, and are just putting shit from Netflix on and go, oh, Mewtwo Strikes Back, I watched that. Here, little Timmy, you're 6 years old, watch this.
Yeah.
It's the shit I liked, and then you're just giving them the shit you liked but worse. Or this is for the 10-year-olds who want a Pokemon movie, but got in with the alternate universe canon. So I Choose You and Power of Us. So they don't know the original, and they don't want to go back and watch an old movie because ew, and they're 10. So they're like, yeah, show me the new one. And they're watching it.
Right.
That is
and everybody's like, wow. And those kids are like, wow, why does this look so a million times shittier than those new movies, which actually look pretty good?
Yeah, they should not have done this.
No.
Absolutely not.
Oh, while we're doing other little differences.
Sure, yeah.
You know that mystery Pokemon we pointed at the end of the movie?
God damn it, that was my ending segment.
Oh,
yes,
no.
What's up? Did you find out which of the Pokemon in that shot it allegedly was?
They removed the guy who was carrying it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No!
I kept reviewing the different angles, and I'm like, I think that dude's just gone. They never wanted to answer what was the shaved Raichu.
Yeah, instead we get Bellsprout and something else. I have a picture, but I forgot.
I think it was a Weedle.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, it was a Weedle.
I'm like, that's
Damn.
yellow. Is that what that was?
No. I looked at these things directly next to. I was like, those don't match up at all.
Yeah, I was pretty upset that we'll never answer the question of who shaved that Raichu. Yeah. Ugh.
Also, the entire ending credit sequence, because of that thing Chris mentioned earlier, 3D is not good for stuff where you need to make a bunch of new things. Now the whole ending is just stills.
Yeah, they just they did a draw filter over it, and it's still clearly just CG and has no sense of composition or anything.
But yeah, then they just pan the camera over that still frame. It's horrible. It's like a cheap anime outro. We'd see this be like get a 0 on the Bleach ending scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, that ending sequence answers Shibuya's earlier question distinctly. Who was this movie for? Whatever sicko on the production staff is a huge Wingull fan and decided it needed to be shoehorned into this movie.
That's fair.
I like the Harbor Masters. I don't even remember what she said because all my brain got was static, Wingull. Static. What the fuck did she? Why?
This is the two members of the staff who made sure they shoved a later Pokemon in. This is them delighting in dismay.
Oh my god, there is energy in this shot.
Hey, I think that's our thumbnail for the episode.
That might be the single best frame in this entire movie.
Yeah.
I do enjoy them being the rowers keep on rowing and they show no signs of slowing. If only we could have had another Pokemon movie, one that looked was safe for human consumption is the level of bad this is. And had a little bit of Willy Wonka energy to it, right? We didn't. I feel like, we got one more movie. Still haven't seen it. Mm-hmm. But so far, we have not had this. We've had billionaire, tech bro, principalities, all that. But we haven't had weird fucking candy maker sort of vibes. We haven't had weird kooky guy who just lets you into his establishment where he normally lives alone with the Pokemon. They could have turned N into that and just been like, this guy is an N, but he's fucking really crazy N.
Yeah, that does feel like a vector we just haven't explored.
And it's really, I think maybe it's just me. Pokemon really lends to that because the Pokemon themselves, it is across all age ranges, but very appealing to children. So the thought of this dude just lives by himself in a weird giant factory or something with his Pokemon has some interesting Willy Wonka vibes.
I didn't realize how much I kind of wanted this until you pointed this out, and now I'm mad that we're not getting any more Pokemon movies in the foreseeable future because I kind of want Pokemon with the weird eccentric Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
My brain didn't make the Wonka connection immediately when you started describing this villain. I thought you had moved on to a new topic. So I'm sitting here this whole time thinking, yeah, Dan, you can't make a villain like that in a Pokemon movie because we want to shy away from character archetypes that are analogous to people who kidnap children. I don't know why. Yeah, we're not going to have like Ash go into some guy's van and he gets driven off. I mean, Ash is a very kidnappable 10-year-old.
Incredibly.
Yeah, I feel like we're dangerously close to just writing a college humor sketch.
It would take Ash a solid week to realize he has been kidnapped. Like,
yeah, somebody would kidnap Ash and then realize, oh shit, this kid has the power of the cosmos.
Yeah, Ash is just throwing hands in the back of that van.
Oh, fuck the auras with him. We gotta go.
Yeah, once again, I have to return to Ash will throw the sparkles at them like the Janemba film and they'll explode. That's what the aura looks like to me. He's just never used it out of anger.
Ash, you should never go anywhere on your own. Like, I'm never alone. The aura is with me.
The kidnapper hearing this, what?
Dan, he doesn't get the Janemba move when he uses an anger. He gets the Dragon Punch.
Oh, hell yeah. We're doing Wrath of the Dragon or whatever? Oh, hell yeah.
Is that just the one where Pikachu's on his wrist when he punches a guy?
Yeah, and the guy gets a hole through him, like, literally.
Oh, yeah. And we
King
need
Piccolo, but it's Pikachu on the other side.
Oh, hell yes. And then Ash doesn't deliver the speech this time like Goku did in that. Pikachu does. So Pikachu's like, all living things die alone. And just full tackles a hole straight through a motherfucker.
I'm just picturing, Renoa from FF8? You know how she launches her dog from like a wrist mount and the dog just becomes a projectile? That with Ash and Pikachu.
It sounds like a fucking ballista has unleashed its volley.
Yes. Because when Pikachu hits you, it's going to have the same effect on your body.
That can't not be a failed Japanese toy anime. Where like you put different creatures on a wrist launcher.
Oh.
Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monsters. That was a 4Kids invention, by the way, so not even technically Japanese.
What?
Yeah, Capsule Monsters was commissioned by 4Kids as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing to try and sell more toys and get more money out of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Brand.
Huh. If only there was a podcast I could go listen to learn more about Yu-Gi-Oh!
If only.
I should write all of that verbatim in the description and put the link. podcast I could go listen to learn more about Yu-Gi-Oh. That's about it for my notes, other than it sure was weird to have them float away and it looked like shit. Go to credits and then come back to them floating more looking like shit.
Yeah. The only other thing that really stood out to me is that Meowth conversation is now back to the original dub, or the original Japanese version.
Instead of the dub version, which added a little bit to it.
Yeah, it added a lot more flavor to it, even if it was short. And now it's just them talking about the moon.
And claws hurt, man, they say over and over as though they're baked out of their fucking minds.
And the moon thing, I could have sworn I've heard there's some weird thing in Japanese literature where something was brought over and it was just two guys talking about being gay, and they got translated it to be really ambiguous and them talking about the moon. And
yes and no. What it is that it's like an English story that was being taught, and someone was asked to translate it into Japanese, and they had a direct translation. And I think it's that the professor said, no, you should not do that, because when you're localizing it, Japanese people are not so direct with their feelings. Instead of "I love you," you should say, like, "The moon looks beautiful tonight." So it's a weird connotation that people can have with that.
So wait, Meowth wants to fuck himself?
Are you surprised?
Yes.
Yeah, this is not that shocking.
I'm a little surprised.
I mean, who doesn't want to fuck a Meowth?
Wait a second. I'm just saying, of the three people in Team Rocket here, I thought Meowth would be the least likely to want to fuck a clone of themselves on sight.
Well, James is asexual as far as I'm concerned. And then Jessie would never go through with it. She'd tout the idea that she absolutely would, and then chicken the fuck out the moment she sees a clone of herself and just go, "Oh no, she's hot."
She's like, "Oh no, we're both bottoms."
Yep.
You can't just say that while I'm drinking water, Dan. I nearly fucking choked.
Well, I think that's it. Any other last musings before we get on to the ratings and end this weirdly short episode of Pokemon Go to the Movies?
Yeah, there was one scene near the start, like when we first see Ash, Brock, and Misty, where Pikachu and Togepi are running around in a hyper-realistic grassy field. Mm-hmm. And that actually looked kind of good after I was assaulted by the human character models. Yeah. And I thought to myself, this art style remaking the Pikachu's Vacation shorts might have actually been good.
Maybe, because no humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still a lot of Pokemon, but you're only putting that much effort in for like a 5-minute short.
I have a quick question. Do you think these humans, how they look in this, is how Pokemon see human faces?
Oh God, I hope not. Because then why are they friends with us ever?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to do it for us talking about the movie. Let's get into our segments. And this time, of course, we have way fewer segments because way fewer are relevant. We already reviewed the text of the movie before, but the spirit has changed. Let us move into our segments. First segment, Whimsy Meter. How whimsical is this movie on a scale of 1 to 10? We're going to start with Shiba Yagato.
There's maybe one scene in this movie that brought me any joy, let alone whimsy, and it is Team Rocket in their fucking Lapras boat singing to these children about getting through a hurricane to go to an island. This gets a 2 off that alone, and that's me being generous.
Chris Wolfhard.
1, it's so ugly and hideous looking.
Dr. Aggro.
This film is a nightmare about a world in which all of the humans have died and been replaced by mannequins animated by Ghastlies. 1.
I can picture that, and that sucks.
They couldn't show that episode in the States. They had to cut it.
Now, I remember owning that episode on VHS, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. They did a worse episode in Sun and Moon, I'm sure.
Oh, God. Are all these Mimikyus?
Maybe.
Oh, Jesus.
We didn't, not too many shots show their feet. Maybe there was a tail sticking out or something, a little shadow.
I mean, they could be actual corpses with Rotoms in them.
Mm-hmm.
Mimikyu's tail, it's actually in one of Ash's shoes, so the tail's tucked into the pants. This is the stealthiest Mimikyu will ever be.
I mean, apparently. And the sad thing is the Mimikyu's like, they don't know I'm Mimikyu at a party full of Mimikyus. Bob.
Yeah, there's still the old moments that tried to be whimsical, like the Mew playing with the windmill. But really, it's all falling flat because of this art style. So I'm gonna give it a 1.
Yeah, it has the feeling of like, how elegant do you think the dish is? And I'm like, oh, the dish can be elegant. This is rotting. I cannot at all say there's any elegance that has ever been here because I'm trying to keep myself from fucking vomiting. This was terrible. 1 out of 10 on the whimsy scale. It is hard to appreciate any level of the whimsy because of how rancid this movie is to experience.
I just have one question. Was this everybody else's first time watching this movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, that's the problem. I had seen it once before. So I think I
somewhat inured to the horror.
the fact that I braced for impact is why the extra point is on my whimsy.
Yeah,
check.
it's never as traumatizing to see someone die the second time.
Ask any of Goku's friends.
You know, the first time you get assaulted in the middle of the street and have your money stolen, it's a little bit fucked up. You kind of curse the world and you just go, why did this happen to me? The second time you're just like, oh, it wasn't as bad as the first one, I guess.
Right? Yeah, you first time you're like, I'm never going on that side of town ever again. Oh my God, the world's a horrible place. Second time you're like, I guess everything sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Beetlejuice face. Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
I think that was the moment I went, yep, I regret this plan.
Yeah.
I didn't ever in my life need to see Brock, but he stretched his nose out to be a scary monster. Oh, that brings us to our next segment, which, given the visual shift, might be worth revisiting, in my opinion. Is Ash in a coma? Does this feed into the argument of he is or is not in the coma? And we're starting this segment with Chris.
Yes, Ash is in a coma. Somebody left a really shitty CG movie on in the room.
Dr. Aggro.
I think he's in hell. Every time he smiles, it looks way too forced. I think he knows he's in hell, and that if he acts like anything is off at all, it just keeps getting worse.
Okay, then no, he is in hell. Bob.
I gotta agree with Aggro. He's gotta be right. What else could explain this?
I don't think he's in a coma. I think this is an alternate timeline we cut to in the giant multiversal movie, and we show this universe die, and no one feels bad for 1 second. And Shibuya Gato.
In a similar vein to Aggro and Bob, no, he's in limbo being forced to relive his greatest hits but worse for the rest of eternity, and or this is one of the nightmares from I Choose You when he's actually dead.
This is the last thing he sees as he dies.
Yeah.
Okay, so in I Choose You, Ash dies.
Yes.
In the timeline where he's good, he goes to Power of Us. In the timeline where he touches himself, he goes to Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution.
That's right. Mewtwo Strikes Back
Turns out
Evolution.
Arceus is Catholic.
Is it right? Christian hell, yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. At the end of this, when he turns to stone, they made him all just one moving object as Pikachu pushed him, and I thought that was the funniest thing in the whole movie.
It is. It actually is the funniest shit, yeah.
Yeah, they don't know what they were doing at any point making this.
And then I have to look at Pikachu's crying face, and I just start screaming because it's horrifying. It looks so bad in CG.
My boy. They murdered my boy.
Look how they massacred my boy.
And for the final segment, we're just rating it on a, for people who don't know, with each movie, we rate it on a scale of 1 to however many Pokemon are in the regional decks the movie is from. So that's right. This time we're rating it on a scale of 1 to 493 because, what was it? Venusaur used energy ball?
Yep.
Yeah.
For some fucking reason, Brute Root just pops out an energy ball.
So to everyone who is upset that the first movie did get reviewed on a scale of 1 to 251, which I said back then, we have to have one movie that counts as first gen, guys. I know Togepi's there. We know, okay? You don't win this time either.
They shot right past it.
We're going to go ahead and start with Dr. Aggro. Dr. Aggro, your score on a scale of 1 to 493.
There were moments in this film that I enjoyed. 20.
I thought you meant 20 moments, and I was going to say name 5 of them right now.
Don't gatekeep me.
This isn't gatekeeping. I'm genuinely curious what 20 moments in this film were engaging to you.
One of them has to be that frame of Jesse James laughing on the boat.
Correct. That is 1 of 20.
Bob.
Yeah, this is worse than the original in every conceivable way. You should not watch this movie. But if for some reason you have to, it could technically be worse. I will give it a 35.
I'm not so kind as my co-hosts. There is nothing of value here. You watch the original version, you get pretty art, you get a context of the era it came from, you get all of these things. You get dub of the context of the era it came from. All of that is so informational. Like when you go back to play the original version of a game instead of the HD remaster. There is nothing of value here. The cinematography is ruined. We didn't even talk about how terrible that Pikachu running up the spiral staircase sequence has been reduced to.
No sauce, no soul, vile.
So awful. The people who made those original sequences, God, I hope they never had to see this. I'm giving it a 1. I hated this. It is terrible. It is of the worst things in this world. This is the true essence of a bad HD remaster video game, but there's no video game left. It's all HD. Moving next to Shibigato.
Just to confirm, Dan, I can't give this a 0, right? I can't just claim that's a missing now. I'm not allowed to do that?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. If we unlock it for 0, we could all give it a 0.
That would be very funny. The first 0 in the history of the GigaBoots Podcast Network's rating system. Now, this is a complete soulless husk of what the original movie even is. There's no purpose for this. There is no reason that this should exist over the original. The original is a perfectly fine movie and interesting to revisit in the context of being the first movie in the middle of Pokemania, with that dub, with shit like Brother My Brother inserted. This is a charisma void. This sucks any life and joy and soul out from the material it's trying to recreate. And it's just not of value. I think we could lose this film entirely as a piece of culture and nothing would be lost. However, Jesse James and Meowth on that boat. For them, I give it a 3.
Wow. And Chris Wolfhard.
This looks like shit. It has nothing. Nothing. 1.
Yeah, I cannot express how horrible it was just watching this thing. Like, every moment is just robbed of, we filmed it from 100 feet away and wide.
God, it took me well over the runtime to finish this movie. I had to keep stopping.
Yeah, like, oh, I have to look away. I'm getting nauseous.
Yeah, you needed to take self-care breaks, and I understand that.
I was like, cool, it'll be over. It's fine. This whole thing will be over in an hour and a half. 2 hours later, I guess I have to finish this.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I had no idea this was this bad. Oh man. Well, that does it. The sum total score we gave it was 60.
That's awesome.
493.
No, I feel bad. It shouldn't be that high, Dan.
Oh yeah.
Change
really
mine to a 1.
Okay.
Let's go.
There we go. That's wow, that decimated it. It's now it's a total score of 26 out of 493. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for the dear viewers at home, I did calculate what my score translates to out of 493. It's 0.006, which may be too generous for this film, some might say.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Pokemon Go to the Movies. Reminder, there is one more movie to watch, and you can go watch our review of that if you're seeing this live on YouTube publicly over at patreon.com/GB podcast, where you get early access. And this time it's pretty early because we want to thank everyone who helped us get through this 2-year-long journey. helped us pay for editing and also co-host, because we like to reimburse everyone for their time, because sometimes watching Pokemon movies is hard.
People tell you content creation's not a real job. Tell them to create content about this fucking movie.
Anyway, you don't have to Pokemon go to Pokemon Home, but you can't Pokemon stay here, so Pokemon go fuck yourself.
Yeah!
The executive producers for this GigaBoots video are Esme, Ely Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, A Reminder for Symphony of War, Cooper Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers. And also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.